In a significant revelation, text messages shared among advisors in Donald Trump's administration, notably on the secure messaging app Signal, have emerged as a focal point of controversy. The messages inadvertently sent to Jeffrey Goldberg, the editor-in-chief of The Atlantic, contained plans regarding a potential military operation in Yemen and have raised alarms about security breaches within the administration. During a recent Senate hearing, Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth was questioned about the implications of these communications. His response, asserting that nobody was texting war plans, has done little to quell concerns regarding the nature of the discussions and the sensitive information that may have been shared. National Intelligence Director Tulsi Gabbard and CIA Director John Ratcliffe also addressed the situation, insisting that no classified material was disseminated in the Signal chat. An assertion that seems designed to soothe fears about the administration's handling of sensitive national security matters. The incident has sparked debates about the security protocols within the Trump administration, particularly as it follows a series of other controversies and legal challenges that the administration has faced. The implications of this breach are multifaceted. On one hand, it raises questions about the administration's operational security and the potential risks posed by using informal communication channels for discussing critical military actions. On the other, it highlights the ongoing scrutiny that Trump's presidency is under as various factions within government and society grapple with the consequences of his administration's policies and actions. In light of this, the administration's attempts to downplay the situation may reflect a broader strategy to manage perceptions amidst a turbulent political landscape. The reactions from the Senate hearing and statements from key officials suggest that there is a concerted effort to reassure the public and congressional leaders about the integrity of U.S. national security operations. As the fallout from this incident continues to unfold, it serves as a reminder of the delicate balance between communication security and governance in an era of heightened scrutiny and accountability. The implications for Trump's presidency could be profound, particularly as more information comes to light regarding the administration's practices and the potential risks they may pose to national security. Looking ahead, it will be essential to monitor both the administrative responses to this breach and the broader implications for U.S. foreign policy, particularly in volatile regions like Yemen. The administration's strategies for addressing these challenges will likely shape the political discourse in the coming months, as well as influence public perceptions of Trump's leadership and decision-making capabilities. In an escalating clash between the executive and judicial branches, former President Donald Trump has recently intensified his criticism of federal judges, particularly in light of their rulings against his administration's policies. This is not merely a battle of wills. It shines a spotlight on a contentious legal issue, the increasing prevalence of nationwide injunctions. While Trump's vitriolic rhetoric may distract from the substantive legal discourse, it also raises valid concerns about the implications of such judicial actions. Last week, Trump called for the impeachment of U.S. District Judge James Boasberg after the judge ruled against his administration's deportation policies. This incident highlights a recurring theme in Trump's relationship with the judiciary, a pattern of frustration directed at judicial decisions that obstruct his executive directives. Since taking office, Trump has been the target of over 15 nationwide injunctions, a remarkable figure that underscores the tension between his administration's aggressive executive actions and judicial oversight. In a post on Truth Social, Trump declared, "Stop nationwide injunctions now before it is too late," warning that the judicial system is undermining the very fabric of governance. His complaint, though couched in hyperbolic language, touches on a significant legal discourse surrounding the legitimacy and impact of nationwide injunctions. These injunctions, often issued by district judges, temporarily block executive actions and have become more common in recent years. According to the Harvard Law Review, there have been 127 nationwide injunctions since 1963, with a staggering 64 issued against Trump during his first term alone. The Biden administration has faced 14 injunctions, illustrating the trend's persistence across administrations. Legal experts are divided on the rise of these injunctions. Some attribute it to increasing judicial activism as partisan judges are nominated and confirmed amid a polarized political climate. Others suggest that the gridlock in Congress has led to a reliance on executive orders, which in turn provokes legal challenges and resulting injunctions. Notably, more than 92% of the injunctions against Trump came from judges appointed by Democrats, raising questions about the potential politicization of judicial authority. The Supreme Court has yet to definitively rule on the legality of nationwide injunctions, but several justices, including Neil Gorsuch and Clarence Thomas, have expressed skepticism. Gorsuch articulated a concern that if a single district judge can block a policy nationwide, the executive branch's ability to implement new policies could be severely hampered. This situation raises a critical question about judicial power and its implications for executive authority. Moreover, Trump's recent calls for the Supreme Court to curtail nationwide injunctions reflect his perception of victimization by the judicial system. However, his approach often overshadows the nuanced legal debates that warrant attention. For instance, in the case of deportations justified under the Alien Enemies Act, Trump's administration faced significant legal challenges that questioned the statute's applicability. When a federal judge blocked these deportations, Trump's response was to target the judiciary rather than engage in a constructive legal dialogue. The dynamic between Trump and the judiciary reveals a complex interplay of power, legality, and public perception. While there are indeed legitimate concerns about the implications of nationwide injunctions on executive power, Trump's attacks often detract from the serious legal questions at hand. As the debate over the role of the judiciary in executive actions continues, it is crucial for political leaders to foster an environment where legal challenges can be assessed on their merits rather than through the lens of partisan animosity. Looking ahead, the Supreme Court may ultimately provide clarity on the appropriate use of nationwide injunctions and their limits on presidential actions. As this legal landscape evolves, it will be essential for all parties involved to prioritize legal integrity over political posturing, ensuring that the balance of power between the branches of government is maintained. The ongoing discussions may shape the future of executive authority and judicial intervention, marking an important chapter in the ongoing saga of American governance. In a significant move that has sent ripples through the global automotive industry and strained international relations, President Donald Trump has announced a 25% tariff on imported cars and car parts, set to take effect on April 2, 2025. This decision follows a troubling series of events, including a massive security breach within the Trump administration that inadvertently exposed sensitive plans shared on the messaging app Signal. While the administration has downplayed the severity of the breach, the implications of the tariffs are anything but minor, igniting concerns of a potential trade war. During a Senate hearing, National Security Advisor Michael Waltz's accidental invitation to Jeffrey Goldberg, editor-in-chief of The Atlantic, to a Signal chat revealed discussions about military strategies, including an impending attack on Yemen. Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth dismissed the incident, stating, "Nobody was texting war plans. And that's all I have to say about that." However, the incident has raised eyebrows about the administration's communication practices and the security of sensitive information. Meanwhile, Trump's tariff announcement has provoked strong reactions both domestically and internationally. The tariffs are poised to disrupt established supply chains, particularly affecting countries like Japan, Germany, Mexico, and Canada, which are major suppliers of vehicles to the U.S. market. Analysts have warned that these new levies could lead to significant increases in vehicle prices, potentially shutting down production lines and risking jobs in the U.S. auto sector. The auto industry is already on edge. Shares of major automotive companies such as General Motors and Stellantis dropped sharply following the tariff announcement. Elon Musk, CEO of Tesla, acknowledged the potential impact on his company, stating, "The tariff impact on Tesla is still significant. The tariffs are expected to raise costs by an estimated $4,000 to $10,000 per vehicle, according to the Anderson Economic Group, placing pressure on both manufacturers and consumers." Trump framed the tariffs as part of his broader strategy to bolster American manufacturing and protect domestic jobs. He asserted if you build your car in the United States there is no tariff, yet experts caution that while the intention may be to strengthen the U.S. auto industry, the immediate consequences could be counterproductive. The U.S. imported approximately 8 million cars last year, accounting for roughly $240 billion in trade, and many American companies rely on parts manufactured in neighboring countries. International reactions have been swift and critical. Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney labelled the tariffs a direct attack on Canada's auto industry, while Japan's Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba expressed that his country would weigh all options in response. Similarly, European leaders are bracing for potential retaliatory measures, with plans for counter-tariffs already in the works targeting U.S. goods, particularly from states that supported Trump in the last election. The European Union has signaled its intent to respond decisively, with Ursula von der Leyen, president of the European Commission, stating that the bloc would assess the situation thoroughly while safeguarding its economic interests. As tensions escalate, the tariffs could exacerbate economic nationalism, further straining already delicate international relationships and potentially triggering a broader trade war. As the automotive industry grapples with these challenges, the long-term effects of Trump's tariff policy remain uncertain. While the administration aims to reshore manufacturing jobs and reduce dependence on foreign imports, the reality is that such measures could lead to increased costs for consumers and disruptions in the global supply chain. The coming weeks will be crucial as affected nations consider their responses and as the implications of these tariffs unfold, marking a pivotal moment in U.S. trade policy and its relationship with global partners. In the face of mounting pressures both at home and abroad, the administration's next steps will be closely scrutinized, with many analysts speculating that this could be the beginning of a larger confrontation over trade and economic policy in the years to come. As the global economy grapples with uncertainty, the actions of the Trump administration are causing ripples that could significantly impact not only the United States but also its international allies. With President Trump's recent announcements regarding tariffs, particularly a proposed 25% levy on imported cars and car parts, tensions are escalating between the U.S. and its trading partners. This move has been perceived as a direct affront, particularly by nations such as Canada, Japan, and Germany, whose economies heavily rely on automotive exports. Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney characterized the tariffs as a direct attack, reflecting the widespread concern among U.S. allies about the unpredictability of American trade policy. The ramifications of such tariffs extend beyond mere economic calculations. They threaten to destabilize established supply chains, sow discord among allies, and provoke retaliatory measures that could spiral into a global trade war. Japan's Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba noted that his government is considering all options in response, emphasizing the need to prioritize Japan's national interests. The situation is further complicated by the fact that the European Union has already begun preparing counter-tariffs targeting U.S. goods, particularly those from regions that supported Trump in the last election. EU officials have announced plans to impose tariffs on a range of American products, including whiskey and soy, underscoring the potential for escalating economic nationalism. The EU's position is clear. They aim to safeguard their economic interests while seeking negotiated solutions, but they are prepared to respond decisively to perceived threats. Meanwhile, the Economic Policy Institute has highlighted the broader implications of Trump's policies on the U.S. economy. The connection between stock market performance and the real economy has been a contentious topic, with many arguing that the two are not necessarily aligned. However, recent data indicates that stock prices and economic health are moving in tandem, suggesting that the current administration's policies are contributing to a decline in both. The S&P 500 has seen an 8% drop in just a month, reflecting investor concerns over the administration's anti-growth measures, including high tariffs and budget cuts that threaten disposable incomes for many American households. The potential fallout from these policies is alarming. As the stock market falters, the ramifications for wage growth and employment could become dire. The Economic Policy Institute warns that if the current trajectory continues, the U.S. could face rising unemployment and stagnant wages, echoing concerns from corporate leaders who initially believed that the stock market would act as a buffer against drastic policy changes. Moreover, the implications of Trump's tariff threats extend beyond economic statistics. The geopolitical landscape is shifting as allies are forced to reconsider their dependencies on American trade and military support. As countries like South Korea and Canada navigate these challenges, there is a palpable sense of urgency to develop self-sufficient strategies, including investments that could mitigate reliance on the U.S. market. In conclusion, the unfolding scenario presents a complex web of economic and political challenges. As America's allies shift into defense mode, the long-term consequences of Trump's tariff policies remain uncertain. The potential for retaliatory actions and a full-blown trade war looms large, with implications that could reshape international relations and economic partnerships. Moving forward, it will be crucial for all parties involved to engage in dialogue aimed at de-escalating tensions and finding mutually beneficial solutions, lest they face the repercussions of a fractured global economy. A significant breach of protocol. High-ranking officials from the Trump administration inadvertently shared sensitive military plans on the encrypted messaging platform Signal, sparking outrage and calls for accountability from both sides of the political spectrum. The incident unfolded following a report by Jeffrey Goldberg, editor-in-chief of The Atlantic, who was mistakenly included in a group chat where key military operations against Houthi militants in Yemen were discussed. The chaotic exchange began when National Security Advisor Michael Waltz added Goldberg to a conversation involving over a dozen senior officials, including Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, CIA Director John Ratcliffe, and Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard. During this chat, Hegseth reportedly disclosed specific details about attack plans, including timing, targets, and weaponry to be utilized in the operation set to take place just hours later. When questioned about the nature of the messages during a Senate hearing, Hegseth attempted to downplay the severity of the information shared, asserting nobody was texting war plans. However, both Ratcliffe and Gabbard echoed Hegseth's claims by insisting that no classified information was exchanged during the chat, prompting skepticism from legislators who argued that even unclassified details about military operations could jeopardize national security. This dismissal of responsibility by top officials has led to widespread criticism. Representative Hakeem Jeffries, the House Democratic leader, called for Hegseth's immediate resignation, labeling him the most unqualified Secretary of Defense in American history. Jeffries expressed grave concern over the implications of such a security lapse, arguing that it could have endangered American lives and violated legal protocols surrounding national defense information. The fallout from this incident has spurred a broader discourse about the adequacy of current communication systems used by U.S. government officials. Many defense experts and former officials have highlighted the urgent need for modernized, secure messaging platforms that can safely facilitate real-time communication without the risks associated with unclassified applications like Signal. A former senior defense official lamented that the incident illustrated a lack of experience and understanding of operational security among current leaders, stating, "People will die if you get it wrong." Despite the outcry, President Trump and his allies have largely defended the actions of his administration, framing the situation as a minor error rather than a serious breach. Trump dismissed concerns during a press briefing, asserting that Signal is commonly used among military personnel and media alike, and emphasized the need for learning from each experience. His comments were echoed by other officials who downplayed the severity of the information shared in the chat. However, experts warn that the implications of this breach extend beyond internal protocol violations. The incident raises vital questions about the national security risks posed by the reliance on commercial encrypted messaging apps for sensitive communications. Scott White, a cybersecurity expert, cautioned that the current state of technology might not adequately protect against potential interception by adversaries like China and Russia, especially as quantum computing advancements threaten existing encryption methods. As the political landscape continues to react to this unfolding story, calls for comprehensive investigations and policy reforms grow louder. Some lawmakers have suggested that this incident serves as a critical opportunity to establish clearer guidelines regarding the use of unclassified communication channels for national security discussions. The risks associated with sharing operational details on non-secure platforms cannot be overstated, and there is a growing consensus that reforms are necessary to prevent similar incidents in the future. In conclusion, the Signal chat leak serves as a stark reminder of the vulnerabilities inherent in current government communication practices. With national security at stake, the need for secure, efficient, and approved channels for sensitive discussions has never been more pressing. As lawmakers and defense officials grapple with the implications of this incident, it remains to be seen how the administration will address these systemic issues and whether meaningful changes in protocol will be implemented to safeguard against future breaches. In an era defined by rapid technological advancements and evolving geopolitical landscapes, a new form of diplomacy is emerging, one that leverages the immediacy of mobile communication. Recent insights into the phone exchanges among world leaders, including U.S. President Donald Trump, French President Emmanuel Macron, and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, highlight how these direct, often spontaneous communications are reshaping international relations and sidelining traditional diplomatic channels. The phenomenon, aptly termed mobile phone diplomacy, was brought to light during a recent press conference when President Zelensky paused his remarks to take a call from President Macron, stating he speaks with the French leader once a day. This exchange exemplifies a shift towards more informal and frequent discussions among heads of state, facilitated by the ease of mobile communication. An aide to Macron noted that these interactions enabled more direct and spontaneous contact, suggesting a marked departure from the formalities of traditional diplomacy, where such discussions would typically require prior arrangements and the presence of aides. This transformation in diplomatic engagement has become especially relevant with Trump's return to the White House, where his unorthodox leadership style favors immediacy over protocol. Macron's team revealed that he frequently receives unexpected calls from Trump, pointing to a more dynamic, albeit unpredictable, diplomatic environment. This approach has implications for global relations, particularly as it allows for quicker decision-making but risks undermining the role of professional diplomats as essential intermediaries. Former French Ambassador Michel Duclos remarked on the acceleration of these exchanges, noting that things have picked up pace, leading to a transformation in how relationships are managed at the highest levels. This change has been particularly pressing for Ukraine as the country navigates the complexities of U.S. foreign policy under Trump, who has demonstrated a fluctuating stance towards Russia. Zelensky's adoption of mobile diplomacy became apparent following Russia's invasion of Ukraine in February 2022, where he began direct communications with regional leaders, including Polish President Andrzej Duda. These calls often address logistical and bureaucratic issues, underscoring a pragmatic approach to diplomacy that prioritizes efficiency in times of crisis. However, the rise of mobile diplomacy is not without its challenges. Duclos cautioned that if leaders fail to debrief their aides post-call, crucial information could be lost, leaving diplomatic teams uninformed and unprepared. Additionally, the reliance on informal communication channels poses risks, as exemplified by a recent incident involving a group chat on the encrypted messaging app Signal, where a journalist inadvertently gained access to sensitive discussions among Trump's advisors about military operations. The increasing frequency of such direct communications can lead to misunderstandings and could jeopardize national security. Ian Bremer, president of the political risk consultancy Eurasia Group, noted that while direct contact between trusted leaders can be advantageous, the context of Trump's relationships, with their inherent volatility, adds a layer of complexity and potential danger. As world leaders navigate this new landscape of mobile diplomacy, the implications stretch beyond immediate diplomatic relations. The G7 nations, facing pressures from Trump's America First policies, have found common ground in their perception of China as a shared adversary. This unity, however, may be tenuous as Trump's administration continues to create divisions within the transatlantic alliance through its trade policies and military strategies. The unfolding dynamics of mobile diplomacy challenge the traditional frameworks of international relations. As leaders increasingly turn to their smartphones for direct communication, the need for robust diplomatic protocols and back-channel communications will be paramount. The future of global diplomacy may well depend on how effectively these leaders can balance the benefits of immediate dialogue with the necessity of maintaining structured diplomatic channels. The adaptation to this new mode of interaction will determine not only the efficacy of individual leaders but also the stability of international relations in a rapidly changing world.